you, Mark. Prova, prova. Yeah, it's working. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Marco, for introducing me. It's a pleasure to be here and discussing what has been the journey with Brian. Also because when we were at the probably the first talk about Brian, because it was like 2 months after the eth Prague Hackathon. So yeah, it's cool to see after 2 years what we've done. First, very quick, I am one of the Brian co-founders and also Urbe co-founders. I've been working in Web3 for the last 8 years. So like, I don't know, like OGs and things like that. When I started 8 years ago, together with Frank and Paolo, that I don't know where they are. Oh, yeah, they are there. So we were first people here in Rome doing something Ethereum related. It was back in 2016/17. So we were running the first workshops, the first meetups. It's incredible to see years after, thanks to everything we have done with Urbe, that now we have an Urbe co-working. We have Brian that is also a what? Okay, it was not working. Okay, so I think you got the point. And so yes, again, it's a pleasure for me after all these years to see how the environment in Italy is changing, because of course with all the problems that there are, especially for the startup area, because basically there are no investments into Web3 startups in Italy, but this is another story. So basically, it's incredible for me to see not only Urbe, but all the other communities, everything that has been done during the last years. Because again, when we started, it was basically only Bitcoin environment. We were full of Bitcoin maximalists. Sorry for who mentioned before, but we are here more interested into Ethereum. So this was an hackathon idea. Again, we started Brian as an hackathon project at eth Prague Hackathon. It was one of the first delegations. You have heard about, of course, Urbe, the delegations, but it's very cool for me to tell that a delegation is your, let's say, best opportunity to first launch your MVP, to bootstrap via bounties, to start talking with sponsors and so on. So I really suggest anyone here that would like to launch a project in Web3 to participate into an Urbe delegation, at an hackathon, and launch the first version of their project. We now, after 1.5 years after the Prague Hackathon, we are the only intent recognition and execution engine in Web3, so we are working that Web3 AI niche. We were building this far before all the AI trend, all the DFAI tokens and so on, but I'll talk about Brian later, because I would like to focus a bit on the role of Brian in the Urbe community. First, again, Brian is born basically thanks to an Urbe delegation. Second point, basically we have found in the Urbe community the early adopters of Brian. So both on the app side, but also the API, we have found all the devs that have tested the API, or the users that are testing Brian, and so on. So of course, it's so powerful to now, before virtually, now to come to the Urbe Hub, talk with people that are also my friends, and listen to their feedback, suggestions, and so on. This is probably, let's say, the best outcome that we have from all these years in Urbe. Why? Because also for the third point, we have now an incredible network also between us, because everyone here is a dev, a business developer like me, a financial guy, a lawyer, so you can find basically any kind of skills that you need, especially when you don't have money to pay for any advisory. And so let's say that a good suggestion for a friend is priceless. I think that the Urbe success, of course, Rome was cool, the Urbe Hub was cool, but in the longer term, we need to find a lot of Brian, a lot of builder gardens. I would like to see every day a new project coming out from this incredible Urbe community. Regarding Brian, basically since the start at the Prague Hackathon, our main vision was that by 2030, most of the on-chain transaction will be generated via autonomous AI agents or via intent-based interfaces. We consider this somehow two different use cases of what can be built on top of the Brian SDK and API. On one side, when I refer to AI agents, yeah, LLM bots that can post on Farcaster or Twitter are cool. What is cooler is that AI agents can manage the wallet of the user, DeFi portfolio, and so on. So real on-chain AI agents that can transact autonomously on-chain. Regarding intent-based interfaces like the Brian app, basically now it's possible to interact with Web3 via natural language prompts, so you can search info, send transaction, deploy smart contracts via, again, natural language. Why this is cool? Because of course, for years, all the UX of Web3 has been one of the, let's say, main problems for mass adoption. We are trying to completely disrupt the user experience via this intent-based revolution. But basically what we are doing in Brian is not so much focusing on the interface side, so on the app side, but more on the backend. So building that protocol that will power the next generation of wallets, AI agents, and so on. So we literally start by the prompts of the users or the agents. These prompts pass via the Brian AI models. I'll tell you a bit more on the models in the next slide. We use existing aggregators in the market, so if you want like to swap, bridge, depositing on tokens, we are using Enso Finance, Bungie, or Leafy for bridges, and so on. So we decided to focus more on the intent recognition side, so on the AI side and not on the Web3, because we wanted to leverage existing and auditing protocols. On the output side, this is the architecture that powers our API. We have the transaction call data, so on top of Brian, you can build custodial solution, non-custodial solution, smart account, and so on. The code, you can directly compile and deploy the code via the API. The textual answer, we have our own RAG solution, so retrieval augmented generation, and this allows devs to create their own knowledge base of resources, and then you can retrieve on-chain and off-chain data via prompt. What is the end goal here? These are literally all the endpoints of our API. And the goal is to unify all these endpoints together and basically having only one chat where you can ask, I don't know, what are the protocols with the IGEST API? Okay, tell me more about Aave. Okay, I want to deposit into Aave. Again, the main, let's say the main problem that we are trying to solve is all the user experience of Web3. These are, again, the two main use cases of what can be built on top of our protocol. So on one side, autonomous AI agent that can transact on-chain, deploy a smart contract, and so on. On the other side, intent-based wallets like the Brian app. Here, why I consider this powerful and not just a chatbot, because you can achieve an easier user experience, but on the execution side, keeping the same level of security and decentralization, because again, we are leveraging all the existing aggregators in the market. Regarding the models, really, this is the main work that we are doing right now in Brian. We released the first domain-specific open-weight model for Web3 on a game phase back in December. It is not production-ready because we need to do 3 different strat fine-tuning of that backbone model. So the first is the natural language to JSON model that will power the send transaction feature. Then there is the question-answering model that will power the Ask Brian and market data feature. And then there is the solidity generation model. What is the end goal here? Again, since the models are open weights, of course, most of the AI projects right now in the market are using closed source models like OpenAI, so we would like to contribute to the open source community of Web3. On the other side, it's not just closed versus open source, but it's also in terms of performances you can achieve with domain-specific models that, of course, only on specific tasks, for example, the intent recognition of transaction, you can achieve some comparable performances to the GPT models, but at a fraction of the cost because the models are so smaller. So thank you so much. Sorry for the too much info. I wanted to go very fast. Bye.